In the interest of profit margins, the entertainment industry usually has to serve queer as well as queerphobic audiences, usually leaving the LGBTQIA+ community with the short end of the stick. Special pride in his appearance. Okay. Hi, I'm Leonie Löwenherz and I'm a queer content creator, historian, and journalist. And today we're going to talk about queer coding versus queerbaiting. It's finally confirmed. Ryan from High School Musical is gay. But we knew that already, didn't we? Now why is that? It's because Ryan was queer-coded. He takes special pride in his appearance, has special interests that aren't seen as traditionally masculine, and displays effeminate mannerisms. All of which are traditional queer codes from the times of old Hollywood. Meanwhile, female characters are portrayed as strong, both mentally and physically. They bottle up their feelings and usually reject traditional femininity, such as the ideas of a traditional marriage. These codes have existed throughout the entertainment industry for decades, from Marlene Dietrich to Liberace, even though they seem quite obvious to us today. Yes, they've reinforced and reproduced a number of stereotypes and cliches, but they also served as a vehicle for representation when it would otherwise not be possible. For example, in children's movies, turning a number of Disney villains into gay icons. For the adult audience, Hollywood went rogue with them after the Hays Code ended. And we ended up with a number of explicitly or coded queer or trans serial killers or supervillains, linking expressions of these identities with negative character traits or danger. So take it with a grain of salt. But why are characters queer-coded instead of explicitly queer? Well, in the case of Ryan from High School Musical, the film came out in 2006. Back then, an explicitly queer character wasn't seen as broadly acceptable, especially in children's movies. In the case of old Hollywood, the main reason was the aforementioned Hays Code, which was a set of guidelines for self-censorship that persisted from 1934 to 1968. This set of rules prohibited, among other things, the display of sexual perversion, which homosexuality was seen as at the time. So queer coding served both the queer audience when it was used for representation, as well as a homophobic audience when it was used to display villainy, for example. Eventually, the industry learned that even a hint of representation will bring in a large queer audience, leading to queer coding to turn into queer baiting. Queerbaiting uses similar codes to tease the queer audience without offending or alienating a homophobic audience by showing anything too explicitly queer. Usually, queerbaiting has two characters of the same sex behave in the same manner that a couple would, without ever confirming their romantic relationship or showing them as an explicit couple and framing their relationship as a close friendship. We can find examples of this in pretty much any genre. For example, in Sherlock, Xena, the new Star Wars movie, Frozen, or Supernatural. Another common tactic is queerbaiting through marketing. For example, when the actors in interviews talk about how they think their characters are queer, but the studio never actually confirms it. Nowadays, we also see a lot of the queerbaiting versus queer coding discussion in the music industry. Harry Styles, for example, bends gender norms with his fashion, waves the pride flag at his concerts, and regularly displays queer culture signifiers. Yet, his audience is made up of mostly girls and young women, and their ability to project their romantic fantasies onto him is worth millions and millions of dollars. So, fans and critics alike have been wondering whether this is the story of a queer person who's unable to come out due to public pressure and financial obligation to their studio, or the story of a marketing strategy designed to cash in on queer fans. However, Swifties have been speculating for years about her sexuality, claiming that she already all but came out through her bisexual pride-colored wig in her You Need to Calm Down music video. Discourse on the matter of queer coding versus queerbaiting is more lively than ever, perhaps because the two main arguments are both perfectly valid. On one hand, LGBTQIA+ people have the right to authentic representation, and our signifiers shouldn't be exploited for financial gain. On the other hand, nobody should be forced to come out before they're ready, and queer coding provides people in the public eye with an opportunity to connect to their community without risking their career. Ultimately, the only way to end both queerbaiting and the necessity for queer coding for good is not calling out individuals who might do one or the other, but fighting the anti-LGBTQIA+ sentiments that demand those tactics.